Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be exploring the mind of a Roman emperor.
Ooh.
Not just any emperor, though.
Okay.
We're talking Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
A guy who ruled one of the largest empires in history, but also found time to be a philosopher.
That's right. And what's fascinating is that Marcus Aurelius didn't just talk the talk.
Right.
He walked the walk.
Yeah.
He used Stoic philosophy
Okay.
as a practical guide for all the challenges he faced as an emperor.
Like what?
From war and plague to political intrigue.
Oh, wow.
And even personal loss.
That's a lot.
We're diving into the book, How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, to see just how his stoicism helped him not only survive, but thrive.
Okay, so right off the bat, that's super interesting to me. I mean, we've all got stuff we're dealing with, right?
You do.
Maybe not ruling an empire,
Sure.
but work, stress, relationships.
Oh, yeah.
That feeling of there's never enough time.
Absolutely.
So if this guy found something that worked for him way back then, maybe there's something in there for us today.
Absolutely. The book does a great job of showing just how human Marcus Aurelius was.
Okay.
Despite his position.
Yeah.
I mean, he kept personal journals.
Really?
These were later published as meditations.
Okay.
And in these journals, he grappled with some pretty relatable issues.
Like what?
Anger, frustration,
Yeah.
the constant struggle to stay focused
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
on what truly matters.
A stoicism.
Yes.
That's the key here.
Exactly.
It's not just some abstract ancient philosophy.
Nope.
The book breaks it down.
It does.
The techniques and practices that we can actually apply.
In our own lives today.
All right, color me intrigued. But before we jump into all of that,
Okay.
let's set the stage.
Yeah.
What was going on in Marcus Aurelius's world?
Oh, it was a lot.
I can imagine it couldn't have been easy being emperor back then.
You're telling me, imagine ruling an empire stretching from Spain to Syria,
Wow, that's huge.
facing constant threats from barbarian tribes,
Really?
dealing with political rivals,
Oh,
and then boom, a devastating plague sweeps across the land.
that's awful.
This was Marcus Aurelius's reality.
Wow, talk about pressure.
Yeah,
So in the midst of all that, he turns to Stoicism.
he does.
What drew him to this particular philosophy?
Well, Stoicism emphasized a few things.
Okay.
Virtue reason
Yeah.
and living in harmony with nature.
Okay.
It provided a framework for understanding the world, for accepting what you can't control
Right.
and focusing on what you can,
Which is...
your own thoughts and actions.
So it's about taking responsibility,
Yes,
even when it feels like the world is falling apart.
exactly. And that's where those 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism come in.
Okay.
Wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation.
Okay.
These were like guiding principles for Marcus,
Okay.
helping him navigate the complexities of ruling an empire,
Right.
but more importantly, living a good life.
I'm starting to see why this guy has fascinated people for centuries. Okay, so he's emperor, he's facing all these crazy challenges, and he finds solace in Stoicism.
Yeah,
But where does this all begin?
that's a good question.
What kind of person was he growing up?
Interestingly, one of his early influences was a slave
Really?
in his mother's household.
Uh-huh.
Or his-
Slave. What did they teach him?
This slave instilled in him values of self-reliance,
Okay.
resilience,
Yep.
and indifference to things like slander
Okay.
or fleeting pleasures.
Wow. A slave. Talk about an unexpected mentor. Like, it's like a real-life underdog story.
Yeah.
He wasn't just handed everything on a silver platter.
Nope.
He had to work for it to cultivate his character.
Exactly. And this brings us to a key Stoic concept,
Okay.
the choice of Hercules.
Hmm.
It's this allegory where Hercules has to choose between the easy path of pleasure
Right.
and the difficult path of virtue.
Okay.
And he ultimately chooses virtue.
Good for him.
And this represents the Stoic ideal of choosing long-term fulfillment
Yeah.
over fleeting gratification.
Okay. I love that we've all faced that choice, right?
Yeah.
The easy way out versus the path that takes more effort,
Yeah.
but ultimately leads to something more meaningful.
You got it.
And it's not about denying yourself pleasure altogether.
No, it's not.
Stoicism isn't about deprivation.
Right.
It's about understanding where true joy comes from and making choices that align with your values.
Absolutely.
So how does this play out in Marcus Aurelius' life?
Good question.
Does he just become this super serious Stoic emperor renouncing all earthly pleasures?
Well, it's interesting because his co-emperor, Lucius Verus, represents that other path, the path of hedonism.
Okay.
Lucius was all about indulging in excesses.
Oh, wow.
Living for the moment.
Okay.
And guess what?
What?
He didn't end up happy or fulfilled. He was plagued by anxiety and probably even depression.
That's so sad.
His story is a stark contrast to Marcus's disciplined and purposeful life.
It's like that classic Aesop's fable, the town mouse and the country mouse.
It is.
The town mouse, with all its fancy food and risky lifestyle, ends up stressed and unhappy, while the country mouse is content with its simple, peaceful life.
Exactly. Marcus Aurelius actually reflects on that fable in his writings.
Oh, wow.
Drawing a parallel to the Stoic idea of finding contentment in virtue. In inner peace, rather than chasing external pleasures that ultimately leave you feeling empty.
So it's not about becoming some kind of emotionless robot.
No.
It's about finding joy in the right things.
Exactly.
In living a life of purpose and meaning.
Yes. And this brings us to another core tenet of Stoicism.
Okay.
Accepting and embracing the course of nature.
Interesting.
They called it amor fati, or love of fate.
Love of fate.
It's about recognizing that some things are beyond our control.
Yeah.
And finding peace in that acceptance.
Okay, that sounds great in theory.
Right.
But how do you actually do that?
Yeah.
How do you deal with all the curveballs life throws at you? The disappointments, the setbacks, the things that don't go your way.
It's tough.
Especially when you're an emperor facing a plague and a war.
That's where the real meat of Stoicism comes in.
Okay.
And where things get really interesting.
Okay, so we left off talking about amor fati.
Right.
This idea of like loving your fate, accepting what you can't control.
Yeah.
Honestly, that sounds kind of hard.
It can be.
Especially when things are tough.
For sure.
Like, how did Marcus Aurelius use that in his own life?
Okay, well.
Did he just like shrug his shoulders when the plague hit, or when his generals rebelled?
He definitely didn't give up.
Okay.
But he also didn't waste energy on things he couldn't change.
So what did he do?
Remember that rebellion we mentioned?
Yeah.
Led by Avidius Cassius? That was a serious threat to Marcus's rule.
Yeah. And to the stability of the whole empire.
Yeah, talk about a major curveball.
And his reaction is so telling.
What did he do?
Instead of freaking out, he calmly assessed the situation.
Okay.
Made plans to address the rebellion. And even expressed empathy for Cassius.
Whoa, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Empathy for the guy trying to overthrow him.
You know, it's pretty amazing.
That's next level stuff.
It is, and it illustrates a key point about Stoicism.
What's that?
It's not about suppressing emotions.
Okay.
It's about understanding and managing them.
Gotcha.
The Stoics believed we have a choice in how we react.
Even to really challenging stuff.
Exactly.
So it's not about ignoring your feelings.
Right.
It's about choosing how you respond to them.
You got it. But how do you actually do that?
Yeah, how?
Especially when it comes to anger.
Ooh, yeah. Anger's tough.
It's a powerful emotion.
For sure.
And Marcus Aurelius actually struggled with anger himself.
He did.
He had a naturally fiery temper.
Oh, wow.
But through Stoic practice,
he learned to control it.
Okay, so how?
Well, he realized that anger often stems from our own judgments about a situation.
Interesting.
Not from the situation itself.
So it's about changing your perspective.
Exactly.
Not letting the anger control you.
Right. They called this cognitive distancing.
Cognitive distancing.
It's like taking a step back from the situation and observing your thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them.
Okay, I think I get it.
Like imagine you're stuck in traffic.
Ugh, don't even get me started.
It's easy to get frustrated.
Oh, yeah.
And angry, right?
The worst.
But with cognitive distancing, you would notice those feelings of anger arising. And you'd say to yourself, okay, I'm feeling frustrated because I'm stuck in traffic.
Right.
This is a temporary inconvenience.
Yeah.
I can't control the traffic,
Sure.
but I can control how I react to it.
So you're not denying the feeling.
Right.
But you're choosing not to let it take over.
Exactly. And the Stoics had other techniques.
Oh, really? Like what?
For managing anger.
Okay.
They emphasized self-awareness.
Okay.
Noticing those early signs of anger before it escalates.
Yeah. That makes sense.
They also recommended postponement.
Postponement.
Not reacting in the heat of the moment.
Okay.
But giving yourself time to cool down.
That's good advice even today.
It is.
Sometimes you just need to walk away for a few minutes.
Exactly.
Before you say or do something you'll regret.
And another powerful technique they used was modeling virtue.
Modeling virtue.
Ask yourself, how would a wise and virtuous person react in this situation?
I like that.
Imagine someone you admire for their composure and integrity.
Okay.
What would they do?
It's like choosing a role model.
It is.
For how to handle tough situations.
Exactly. But what about those times when you're dealing with someone who just really pushes your buttons?
I know the type.
Like a difficult coworker or a family member who's constantly testing your patience.
Oh, yeah.
That's where Stoic empathy comes in.
Stoic empathy.
Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to consider the other person's perspective.
Oh, that's tough.
Their struggles.
Yeah.
Their flaws.
Okay.
He tried to see them as whole people.
Right.
Not just as the embodiment of whatever was annoying him.
It's like remembering that everyone's fighting their own battles.
Exactly.
We all have our own stuff going on.
And that can help you cultivate compassion.
Okay.
Which can diffuse anger.
Right.
And frustration.
Yeah. Sometimes the Stoics would even go a step further.
Really?
And try to find something good.
Oh, wow.
In the person they were struggling with.
Wait, find something good?
Yeah.
In the person who's driving you crazy?
Uh-huh.
How's that even possible?
It sounds impossible.
It's about shifting your focus.
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on their flaws.
Yeah.
Try to remember a time when they showed a positive quality.
Yeah.
Even a small one. You know, maybe they were kind to someone, or they helped you with something, or they showed a moment of vulnerability.
So it's like focusing on the good to counteract the bad.
Yeah.
Kind of like a mental balancing act.
And it can really change your perspective in the person and the situation.
I'm starting to see how these Stoic techniques could be helpful even in our modern lives.
Absolutely. But let's talk about another challenge that we all face, which is accepting the things we can't control.
That's a big one.
I mean, how do you make peace with the fact that life doesn't always go your way?
It's so hard.
That's where Marcus Aurelius's idea of the reserve clause comes in.
Reserve clause, what's that?
It's basically recognizing that in every action we take, there's a possibility of things not going as planned.
Oh, that's for sure.
We don't have complete control over the outcome.
So it's like saying, I'm going to do my best to achieve this goal, but I accept that factors beyond my control might prevent it from happening.
And by embracing this reserve clause, you free yourself from a lot of anxiety and frustration.
It allows you to focus on your effort, your intention, rather than getting hung up on a specific result.
It's like that saying, focus on the journey, not the destination.
I like that. And the Stoics also practice something. Okay, what's that?
Called premeditation of adversity.
Premeditation of adversity.
Which sounds kind of intense.
Yeah. What is that?
Like, are you intentionally thinking about bad things happening?
It sounds like it.
Isn't that just going to stress you out?
It probably would.
It might seem counterintuitive.
Okay.
But it's actually about building resilience.
Okay.
It's mentally preparing yourself for potential setbacks and challenges.
Okay. Like what?
Like, imagine you're about to give an important presentation at work.
Oh, yeah. I can feel the nerves already.
So with premeditation of adversity,
you take some time to think about what could go wrong.
Oh, no. I don't like this.
What if the technology fails?
Oh, yeah. That's always fun.
What if you forget part of your speech?
Oh, God, the worst.
What if someone asks a tough question?
That's terrifying.
It's like doing a mental run-through of all the worst-case scenarios.
I don't know if I like this.
But here's the key.
Okay.
You're not dwelling on these negative possibilities. You're simply acknowledging that they exist and mentally rehearsing how you would respond in a calm and rational way.
So it's like having a plan in place.
Exactly.
So you're not caught off guard if things don't go perfectly.
And the Stoics believed that this practice built a sense of inner strength and composure.
So it's not about being fearless.
Right.
It's about facing your fears and building the mental strength to overcome them.
This all sounds very serious.
It does.
Did Marcus Aurelius ever find time to relax? Yeah, like did he ever have fun?
Absolutely. Remember, Stoicism isn't about deprivation or suppressing your emotions.
It's about finding true joy.
Exactly, and fulfillment.
So how did he find joy?
One of the ways was through his connection to nature.
Oh, that's nice.
So like going for walks in the gardens of his palace or something.
Yeah, exactly.
He definitely appreciated the beauty of nature.
Okay.
But it went deeper than that.
Oh, really? How so?
He saw himself as part of a larger cosmic order.
Whoa.
Interconnected with everything around him.
So like feeling a sense of awe. Yeah.
And wonder at the stars or the vastness of the ocean.
Exactly.
And that sense of connection to something greater than himself brought him a deep sense of peace and joy.
I'm really starting to see how Stoicism is more than just some ancient philosophy.
It is.
It's a way of life, a way of looking at the world.
Right.
That can help you find peace even when things are tough.
And that's what's so remarkable about Marcus Aurelius.
What is?
He wasn't just a philosopher king. He was a living example of how to apply Stoic principles in a very real and challenging world.
And speaking of challenges, we haven't even touched on the biggest one yet.
Which is?
Facing death.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
That's something we all have to deal with eventually.
We do.
How did Stoicism help Marcus Aurelius cope with that?
Well, for the Stoics, death wasn't something to be feared, but rather something to be accepted as a natural part of life.
Okay, so we've talked about how Marcus Aurelius used Stoicism to deal with anger, adversity, even difficult people, but facing death, that's a whole other level. It's something we all have to deal with eventually.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly a topic that comes up at parties.
You're right. Not exactly light conversation, but for the Stoics, death wasn't something to be feared or avoided. They saw it as a natural part of life, a return to the source from which we came.
I get that it's natural, like the changing seasons or the cycle of day and night, but how do you actually get to that point of acceptance? It's one thing to say death is inevitable, but it's another to actually embrace it.
Well, the Stoics believed that one of the keys to accepting death was to live a life in accordance with nature, aligned with reason and virtue. They saw death as a release from the attachments and desires that often cause us suffering.
So it's not about fearing death itself, but fearing a life lived out of alignment with our true nature, a life where we chase after things that don't truly matter.
Exactly. And Marcus Aurelius exemplifies this striving for virtue throughout his meditations. He constantly reminds himself to focus on what he can control: his actions, his judgments, his responses to life's events.
He understood that external circumstances are often beyond our grasp, but our inner world, our character, is something we can cultivate. And by cultivating virtue, by living in harmony with reason and nature, we prepare ourselves for death, not with fear, but with a sense of completion.
He frequently contemplates the vastness of the cosmos, the immensity of time and space. This cosmic perspective helped him see his own life and even death as part of a much larger context.
So instead of being afraid of death, he saw it as a transition emerging back into the source from which we came.
Right, and this realization can be both humbling and incredibly liberating. It allows us to let go of our ego-driven anxieties and embrace the interconnectedness of all things. We're part of something so much greater than ourselves.
This has been an incredible deep dive, honestly. I feel like I've learned so much about Stoicism, about Marcus Aurelius, and even about myself.
It's amazing how the wisdom of the Stoics, especially someone like Marcus Aurelius, can still resonate with us today, centuries later.
Their insights into human nature, into dealing with challenges and finding meaning in life, they're timeless. And it's inspiring to see how someone in such a position of power used philosophy as a practical guide for living a good life.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we'll leave you with this: how reflecting on your own mortality inspire you to live more fully and authentically right now in this moment. What steps can you take today to align your life more closely with your values and principles? We hope that the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, this philosopher king, has offered you valuable insights and tools for navigating the complexities of life and facing the inevitable with courage and grace. Until next time, keep diving deep.